17 Riverdale Ave, and I understand there is some revision that relates to this application. And I understand that we have speakers on. Is Mr. Lang with us?
Yep.
Okay.
The speaker's registered.
And also Shilpa Raykar and Arjit Manik?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right then. Applicant, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We do hear you. State your name, please.
David Lang, 2100 Bloor Street West.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. David, we're going to come to you, but right now we're actually going to hear from the actual applicant, Julia Chasson.
She's
Julia
the owner.
Chasson, are you with us?
No, he's representing her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Lang is representing Julia. I misunderstood that. You're not speaking in opposition. Very good.
No, sorry. I am listed as the agent on the application. It's just a little backwards, I guess.
I misunderstood that. Now I think I've got
That's
it.
okay.
Okay. And we do have one speaker or two speakers registered in opposition. Okay. Okay, David, you're quite right. It is your turn now to make your presentation to the committee.
All right. Good evening. Our application is proposing a rear addition to all floors of an existing three-story home. We're asking for relief on 4 variances. Variances 1 to 3 are all related to existing conditions. Variance number 1 is asking for an encroachment of the roof projection on the east side of the house. Rear additions are permitted to be in line with the existing exterior walls. However, any roof projection will be right against the property line and would need a separate approval. Variance number 2 is asking for approval of the main wall height. The existing 3rd floor height is not being modified, but the new walls on the rear addition will require approval in order to maintain the existing ceiling height. Otherwise, there is no proposed increase to the overall height, and the existing main roof will be maintained under the permitted 10 meters. I should clarify that there is no work proposed to the front of the house, and the existing front elevations will be maintained as they are. Variance number 3 is required to reconstruct the existing 3rd floor rear balcony. The balcony is not being raised, but we will require a step up onto the actual deck from the 3rd floor as per the existing conditions. Variance number 4 is an increase to the overall floor space index. Like many homes in the neighborhood, the overall building length of the existing house is somewhat restricting to the interior layout. The owners are a growing family and are looking to add space for bedrooms and overall functional use. The proposed floor space index of 0.9 is not uncommon for the Riverdale area, and past decision research indicates that other applications have been approved for increases from 0.8 to 1.0 and above. We feel that we are within the range of the general development for the area. As you heard, I believe the owners are available for comments. If needed, I know they have spoken to several neighbors and have provided letters of support from 213, 219, and 220 Riverdale. They have spoken to the adjacent neighbors at 215, and we're not aware of any objections at this time from them. I understand there is a letter of objection from someone at 209 Riverdale, which is several doors down west on the street. I believe they have some privacy concerns, but we feel that there's no real negative impact on this item since there's already a 3rd floor deck on the existing house, and 209 is almost 5 lots away. Unfortunately, we have not spoken to them. We just received their letter, and the owners have not actually heard from them. Otherwise, we feel the required variances are minor in nature and the proposed work is appropriate development for the property. Your consideration for approval would be greatly appreciated. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David. Let's go
Chair, just a quick question, if I might. It looks like it's a fairly large house already. Do you know what the existing FSI is?
I got it right here. I think it's, if I just use my calculator, it's right at 0.67. So there's not really, any addition is going to require a variance increase on the floor space index.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Could you clarify, you said there's a 3rd story, I'm looking in the drawings and I can't see it. You said there's an existing 3rd story deck at the present time. Is it approximately the same size as the proposed deck?
Yes, if you flip to page 6, you'll see the existing third floor, and the addition is going over the existing deck, and that same deck is being rebuilt over the second floor addition below.
And have you had any, over the time that that deck's been in operation, have there been concerns about privacy for that third floor deck that's existing?
The owners just moved in during the pandemic, so they're not aware of any real concerns. Again, they've spoken to both the neighbors.
My concern is it's a really big deck, and
Right.
I'm interested to know whether you would be open to putting screening on the two sides of the deck to protect the privacy of your neighbors.
I've advised the homeowners. I think they could probably answer that question. I think we're open to it if they are. We might have to
Okay,
explain.
thank you.
Okay, then let's go to the speaker in opposition. Shilpa Raikar?
Mr. Chair, they've disappeared from the list.
They have.
Yeah. I'm going to try to call them.
You can make a quick call, please. Yes.
Sorry, you mentioned there was a revision. I was a little confused.
Yes, I thought I had made a note here from this morning. There was a revision to be anticipated here. Maybe I got it on the wrong application. Is there any revision? No. I must have put it on the wrong application. We're just going to give a quick call to a registered speaker.
Sorry, what's the gentleman's name?
Pardon me?
Sorry, what was the gentleman's name that's calling in?
There are. Is that Mr. Lang? Mr. Lang, is that you speaking?
Oh, I'm muted, I'm sorry.
Hello?
Hello, is that you, Mr. Lang?
Sorry, yes, this is David.
Okay, David. Yes, we have two registered speakers. We're just going to try to get them. One is Arijit Banik and the other is Shilpa Raikar. They're on the line now. Thank you. Okay.
Hello?
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 Hello. Is that Shilpa?
Yes, it is.
State your name and is Arijit Banik there with you?
Yes, speaking.
Okay. So you're going to speak together? That's fine. You can. I'm going to give you 5 minutes between you to address the panel.
Oh, we actually didn't really want to address the panel.
Yeah, I think there was a mix-up in the communications because we didn't confirm that we were going to speak. We have no objections to what was happening with our neighbors. They've moved in and we've had a very cordial relationship with them. We don't have anything to contribute to the panel.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Even that is good information for the panel. Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Good night. Okay, back to you. Back to David then. And David, I'm going to ask you to, let's see now. Okay, there's nothing to refute there, so. Panel, any further questions for the applicant, David Lang? Mr. Salomon, go ahead.
Yeah, so just for that third story deck, what are the two sides? Are they the north and south? Like, if you can just give us what sides are those? So we can, if we were to consider some type of screening, we'd need to reference.
Right. Okay.
They're east and west. They're
Yeah,
east
the
and
building
west.
faces south.
Further questions for the applicant? In that case, we can take the application into committee for discussion or a motion. Is anyone ready with a motion?
Yeah, I think the variances are minor in nature. I did have a concern with the size of the third story deck, but I'm okay with it. And so long as we can add a condition that there be 1.5 meter high opaque screening on the east and west sides of that third story balcony.
Thank you. Okay, staff, you've captured that. There's a motion there to approve. Is there a second to that? Second, Mr. Nipfel. Motion to approve, seconded. All those in favor, show of hands. Thank you. Motion is carried, and the application is approved. Committee moves along to application number 4871, Laws Ave. Okay, moderator, do we have Michael and Chia Mandarella with us?
No, but the agent's on the line. I'll give them a call.
The agent's on the line, okay. And as I'm speaking to the agent, you can give a call and let me know whether they're with us or not. Okay, agent, if you're with us, please state your name and join us.
Michael and Leah? It just says support interest opposition on the list. They're not referencing it to the. Oh. Okay, we'll have to call them. Okay.
Just let me confirm then now, is it the case that Michael and Chia Mandarella are the applicants?
Yeah.
In that case, they won't be speaking in opposition. And we just need to make contact with Michael Hammond. Michael, are you with us?
That would be Michelle Hammond.
It's Michelle Hammond. I apologize.
I don't know if Michelle is on the line.
Oh, okay. Pardon me for being slow on this. Who is on the line?
You have Michael Mandarello on the line and Chia Mandarello.
Okay, they are the applicants. Are they going to speak for? Okay, good. Oh, are you Michael?
I am Michael, but I think Michelle is logging in. She's supposed to be representing our case.
Okay. And you think she's logging in now? We'll just wait for a moment for her to do that.
No, I said, how is she supposed to look? How is she supposed to log in? I have to find her number.
Are you there? I see the name. She muted herself, I think.
I don't know. I don't have her number.
Michelle, is that you? We can hear you.
No, that's Chia.
Lucia. You can represent yourselves.
I'm going to suggest to you, Michael and Chia, that you represent yourselves at this stage of the game. So, we have no one registered in opposition, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Are you willing to do that, Michael and Chia?
Yes, yes.
You'll represent yourselves. Thank you very much. Okay then. Panel members, we're speaking to the applicants now. Do you have any questions for them with respect to number 48? Mr. Nipfel?
I had one simple question. In the opposition documents, a gentleman named David Brand made reference to a particular tree of note, a walnut tree in the backyard. And I just wanted to know, because I don't know where it is, what its location might be and whether it will be preserved with this application.
Which oak tree you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, the oak tree belongs to our neighbor, and it's far enough away from the carport that it won't actually impede in any way. What I'm assuming is it's this one here that, yes, exactly where the little hand is. So I believe it's his garage is going to be closer to the tree than the carport would in our situation. So I don't think there's no trees or landscape or anything that we're planning on removing or impeding on or, interfering with at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Chair, this is fairly straightforward, and I think to get to the chase, maybe I'll just make a motion that we approve this application. I think it's quite minor. It's a rear carport. I don't think it has any major impact on the community. I would move a motion that we approve this application.
Mr. Clay, second to that motion. Second by Mr. Nipfel. All those in favor? Show of hands. The motion is carried. The application is approved. And Michael and Chia, you did a good job of representing yourselves. You have your application approved. Thank you. And committee moves on to number 49. On number 49, 8 Rainsford Road, we are dealing with applicant materials, cover letter from Ingrid Furtado and Warren D'Souza. There is support correspondence from 14 Rainsford, number 40, 7 Brookmount. There are 10 form letters in support from various addresses on Rainsford and Brookmount and Dixon Road. So, I'll go to the agent now. Ingrid Furtado, are you with us?
Hi, yes, this is Ingrid Furtado, and I'm here.
Thank you very much, Ingrid.
You're welcome.
Panel members, we have the agent with us. Any questions for the agent on number 49? If none, we'll take the application into committee for a motion, please. Mr. Nipfel.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a very straightforward application. I don't see a downside to approving it. I don't think there are any negative implications to the community, so I'd like to move approval without condition.
Thank you. Second to that, second by Mr. Clay. Motion to approve, all those in favor? And the motion is carried. The application is approved. And we now go to the final application on today's agenda, which is number 50, 398 Westmoreland Ave. And on this application, the committee has before it applicant materials, presentation material from the agent, a previous decision by the committee of 2017. There is comment from city planning, staff reports from community planning and engineering and construction. And there is support correspondence from 383 and 460 Westmoreland and 463 Salem Ave North. And there is opposition correspondence from 395 Westmoreland, 409, 422, 443, 385, 399, 411, 414, 424, 426, 429, 441, and 443 Westmoreland. And also 444 Westmoreland, 450 Westmoreland, and 446 Westmoreland. Okay. I'm going to the moderator now. Moderator, how many speakers do we have registered who are online? 3. 3 with us, okay. Okay, Agent Franco Romano, are you with us?
Good evening, sir. Yes, Franco Romano here on behalf of the owner.
Franco, you have 5 minutes to make your presentation to the committee.
Thank you, sir. There are two persons in support that I did not hear you mention, but perhaps it may have been related to the filings that were made. The two immediate neighbors, number 402 and number 396, are also in support, and they signed a form letter of support.
Thank you for that.
This is an application that involves a laneway suite, and there are 4 variances, and they all deal with the laneway suite component. 2 of them deal with landscape variances, one in between the two buildings, and one for the space between the laneway and the laneway suite. Both of those involve soft landscaping variance of 7.27 square meter difference and a 0.63 square meter difference. So those are not substantial differences in landscaping. And the owner is prepared to have both the rear driveway as well as the walkway in between the two buildings be permeable pavers in order to compensate for and actually enhance the permeability of rainwater. The third variance is the distance between the two buildings, and this distance the zone examiner has identified from the staircase that is attached to the building facing Westmoreland to the laneway suite. However, that distance between the building itself and the laneway building is 7.5 meters, which is consistent with the zoning bylaw requirement. And that's why planning staff have said that they're looking to attach the site plan as part of any condition of approval, and the owner is satisfied with that. Engineering and construction services have also identified a number of items, and each of those are reflected on this drawing, on this site plan drawing. So everything is being incorporated and accommodated. The other variance, the fourth variance, deals again with the laneway suite, and that is to permit a height of 6 meters, whereas 4 is permitted. And that 6 meters reflects from the average grade around the building to the top, and you'll see that there is a sloped component that addresses other height issues under the zoning bylaw in order to minimize the number of variances and to integrate the laneway suite into the design. What you will find in this area is that it has a residential zoning, which is quite permissive. Detached, semi-detached, other multiple forms of residential are permitted as of right. And when one has a lane, the laneway suite is now a permitted use and a permitted building type and a permitted building form in order to enhance the rental accommodation that can be accommodated within this fairly compact urban environment. I would submit, sir, that the application satisfies all 4 tests for a minor variance. And one other thing I will note is that there is a parking space within the laneway suite that is being accommodated. And certainly more than one can be accommodated if necessary within that building, but there is no parking related variance associated with this property. And that's consistent with the zoning that applies to this property and everybody else on Westmoreland and other adjoining streets. So I submit there's no significant adverse impact, and this is an appropriate use for this property that is satisfies all 4 tests for a minor variance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Panel, do you wish to address questions to the applicant now, or shall we go on to hear the speakers? Okay, we'll hear the speakers. Okay, Robert, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We do hear you clearly, and just state your name and make your presentation.
Yes, my name is Rob Wigington. I live at 392 Westmoreland Avenue North. And I'm opposed to this build, but I just wanted to talk about it for a second. You mentioned earlier that we should speak on issues directly impacting our household. So yes. I'm concerned about the build mostly because of the current lighting situation that has been installed on the current build. There are 3 extremely bright security lights at the back of the house, which are casting light up to 5 properties on either side of the house, not to mention the effect that this is having at the back of the houses on Salem Avenue in the reverse of the alley. Like, the house is lit up like a baseball field. It's like, we like to relax in our backyard in the warmer months at night, and these stale, blinding lights will make that impossible. They're not a motion sensor, and they're just on all night from dusk till dawn. I'm concerned that the laneway house will have even more lights. I mean, I've never seen anything like it on a house. We had a bylaw officer come by in January, and he said they were technically, quote unquote, pointing down, but they have no cover at all. And I was thinking about talking to the developer myself, but the bylaw officer recommended I don't, as to not cause conflict. The bylaw officer admitted the lights were extremely bright and called the developer and told him the neighbors were not pleased, and apparently he just hung up on him. So, and unfortunately, because the lights are shining not directly into our house, only just completely flooding our backyard with harsh, stale light, I please ask the developer, Franco, please, if you can put warmer lights in, or a cover, or some possible shade. Larry mentioned earlier, is it legal? I guess technically, because they're not shining directly into our house, but, it's just like a courtesy to the neighbors. We just want to enjoy our outside, small space like we can. We can't go anywhere, COVID's here, like we can't enjoy anything except our own home, and it's making it pretty hard, especially as summer's coming up, and just want to not have blinding lights in my face, It's really all I have to say, but, I urge any resident that's listening, if they're affected by these lights, to call the bylaw officer and have it re-inspected again. That's really all I have to say about it. I'm sure other people on the panel will state their own opinions, but that's my opinion.
Thank you very much. We'll go on now to Speaker Justin. Justin, are you with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
We do hear you, Justin. Just state your name and...
It's actually Justine.
My apology.
That's okay. And I reside...
I do understand the difference. Sorry, Justine.
That's okay.
Please address the panel with your concerns.
Sure. I reside at 394 Westmoreland Avenue North, and I have for 20 years. I'm concerned, one, I feel like I'm late to this tea party that we're having here, because I actually never received the 2017 notices. And when the house started to be dug, or the footprint of the house was being dug, and I am a property owner and so is my husband, so usually we get 2 notices for anything that's going on, but we didn't. And when the footprint for the house was being dug, I remember being horrified at how big it was and phoning 311 to find out how to go about making sure it was all up to speed. And I finally got put through to someone in the city and was told that it is to code and that they do have permits, and there was, nothing, everything was fine. And if I had a problem with it, that I would have to actually physically go to City Hall and pay to register to make a complaint. But then COVID started. Anyways, all of this came about, and I was actually quite surprised to see that the original application in 2017 was for a 3rd floor addition and a porch. And it was a single family dwelling. It was never a rental unit prior to the current owner's purchase. And I'm just kind of amazed that something could turn into such a massive, it has the largest footprint on Westmoreland and Salem. It is, a 3-story apartment building that has clearly always had a basement apartment as well. It was built for that. I'm just concerned about what's going to happen with our street in terms of, there's another property already that seems to be going in the same direction, 425. I just don't know where the checks and balances are. And I'm all about density and affordable rentals and laneway homes as well. But this is turning into a 5-plex. I'm concerned about the privacy in my backyard. I also have concerns about the light. They're very irritating. I'm concerned about parking. I'm concerned about privacy from the laneway home looking directly into our backyard. There is now 3 porches, or I guess it's a fire escape, but really they're massive. And I can just see, because there's going to be nowhere for these people to go, 3 different barbecues on each level looking down into my backyard, which, you know, the house has a length that it never did previously. And I'm just concerned about the precedent that it's set. And, you know, this isn't a single family or even a duplex that wants to convert something into a laneway home. And I would love to build a laneway home in due course as a single family dwelling. But anyways, these are my concerns and how I feel that it's going to directly affect me. Parking is a major issue. I know that's not your department. I was talking to the owner of the property who came by the house on Friday night asking me to sign a letter of support, which I see has been submitted late. And he explained that there's this whole neighborhood, every single house can be zoned a triplex, and that nothing can stop the laneway home. The only thing that can be stopped is the size of it. And the reason why that it's so big is in order to create 1 parking spot. And if they're not allowed to build it as big as they would like, they'll just build it to what is allowed and they won't have any parking. And I said, okay. Anyways, I'm just not sure that any of this is really kosher, but maybe it is. I don't know. So I'm here to say, can we please make sure that this doesn't set a horrible precedent for this neighborhood and the destruction and
I'll ask you to make your
massification.
summary now, please.
There you go. I'm done.
Thank you. And Lisa. Hello, Lisa, are you with us?
I am here, yes, thank you.
Lisa, please state your name and address your concerns to the committee.
Before I begin, I do have a question with regard to the application. The application states that the purpose is to convert the 3-story triplex into a 4-plex by performing interior alterations to create a dwelling unit in the basement. A 2-story laneway suite will also be constructed in the rear yard. I did not hear anyone address this request to transfer to a 4-plex. Is this no longer part of the application, or is this just something that automatically happens? Hello?
Lisa, we were just thinking here.
Okay.
We'd actually hoped you were going to come to us. What we're dealing with here is an application that proposes to convert the 3-story triplex into a 4-plex and build a 2-story laneway suite in the rear yard.
Correct.
So that's the nature of the application the committee has before it.
Okay.
And, so we're interested in your comments on the
Okay,
application.
I wanted to make sure that that was still part of the equation because the developer did not address that in any way. So
that's the application committee has before it.
Okay, so my name's Lisa Guioni and I reside at 443 Westmoreland Avenue North. I really appreciate your time and your tenacity and endurance today. You must all be non-smokers. Although this minor variance request pertains to a 4th basement unit and an ancillary building, it's important to consider this property as a whole. By completing the construction earlier this year of the existing building at 398 Westmoreland Avenue North, with a 4th basement walkout unit and 5 hydrometers already in place, I am concerned that the piecemeal nature of the developer's latest variance requests is disingenuous and actively undermines the entire Committee of Adjustments process. Plans to activate the 4th unit, which appears to exist already, and build an ancillary building with apartment suite for which a hydrometer exists, should have been revealed in the developer's 2017 request for minor variances in order for the overall development of this site to be considered in its entirety, not as a new and separate minor variance once his build was complete. The changes this property has already undergone in terms of massing and scale have been extreme, and the new variances should not be considered afterthoughts. Many street residents feel it was Mr. Romano's intent from the start. In 2017, the applicant received a substantial number of variance allowances in terms of FSI, height, tree removal, softscaping, etc. And the fact that 398 was rebuilt as a triplex came as a surprise to many of the street's residents, as it's the first on the street. It is my opinion that the city's general plan and density initiative have already been satisfied for this one property with the newly built triplex on the site. With his latest variance requests, the developer is pushing the boundaries of the definition of density. Consider this. Had the original application outlined the redevelopment as a fourplex with an ancillary building that included a fifth suite, would the committee have approved it? I understand that to the developer, it's essential that allowable densities are high enough to make it financially viable to acquire, demolish an existing single detached home. But densities must result in projects that are a good fit in the neighborhood. Many of the street's residents do in fact support the idea of intensification, but feel it should be inherently small in scale, befitting our small lot sizes. Reasonable intensification projects for the street would be dwellings with either secondary suites or with laneway suites above garages, duplexes with basement suites. We are hard-pressed to consider one single lot with 5 rental units and 1 parking space, which is 398 Westmoreland's request, gentle. It feels more like an attack. There must be a limit on a single downtown property. Our neighborhood side street is made up of low-rise residential buildings, many bungalows and mostly 2-story dwellings. Many do have rental units which satisfy the missing middle in Toronto housing. And certainly developments on DuPont and the nearby Galleria will provide over 6,000 future units. The size of the proposed ancillary laneway structure exceeds the bylaw by approximately 30%, with a height variance request of 2 meters and little room between itself and the main building. There are no other 2-story buildings in this laneway and no laneway rental suites. Erection of the proposed laneway residence allows for only 1 parking spot to support a possible 5 multi-bedroom units and arguably at least 10 tenants. Additional parking should be required for this site to alleviate the need for street parking, already at capacity on Westmoreland. The requested variances for bylaw chapters addressing softscaping would reduce softscaping a total of 29.75%. This severely limits any potential green space. Please note that all trees that previously existed on the site were removed and were not replaced. In summary, the physical change of 398 Westmoreland Avenue North as a whole has not been sensitive or gradual and does not fit the existing physical character of the street. The developer's request of activation of the 4th suite and to build an ancillary building with 5th suite does not reflect or reinforce the current general physical patterns of this neighborhood. If granted, it would set a precedent in a neighborhood that is in transition and would likely quickly become the norm. The developer's 3 existing multi-bedroom suites already provide reasonable density on this property for its footprint within the neighborhood and its existing infrastructure. There truly must be a limit. Anything additional would be inappropriate within the restricted landscape and should be considered.
Make your final comment now.
The unreasonable density putting undue pressure on the neighborhood infrastructure, greatly encroaching on the privacy of adjacent residents, as has been attested, affecting enjoyment of their own outdoor space, garbage, noise, unforgiving cast of exterior light that would result. Approval of a 4th unit and 5th laneway suite would set a precedent on the street, and it's a grave concern for existing homeowners. I respectfully request the committee that you decline this application, and if you do decide to proceed and grant an ancillary or if you decide to decline the garage suite, I request.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go back to the agent.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Nipfel.
First of all, Lisa, I think your name is, that was an excellent presentation, but you've raised, I think, a critical issue for us. As I see it, the variances that are before us only apply to the laneway suite. They have nothing to do with changing a triplex into a fourplex. And I don't want to hold out hope that we're trying to determine if the triplex can become a fourplex by the decision we make today. Could the Deputy Secretary Treasurer confirm that the only issue before us is the laneway suite? Because it doesn't appear that there are any variances tied to the transfer of a triplex to a fourplex.
All of the variances relate to the laneway suite.
So the issue of whether it's going to be a fourplex or not is not before us today.
No.
Thank you.
As long as it's permitted by the zoning bylaw for that area.
So should in fact the purpose of the application be revised to delete any reference to the triplex, fourplex, since there are no variances that would to that
Yeah.
at all?
Absolutely. Good question, Mr. Salomon. I believe it should too.
We can ask the agent.
Agent?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that point, you'll see that the application form that I submitted said that to construct a new two-story laneway suite, the work includes a basement dwelling unit requiring no variances. The zone examination that was submitted along with the application says in its proposal description, proposal for the basement to add an additional dwelling unit along with a new detached two-story laneway suite with an integral garage. And that would have formed the basis upon which I imagine the planning technician had written the purpose of the application on the minor variance notice. However, the only variances that are being sought deal with landscaping and the distance between the two buildings and the height of the laneway suite, and there are no variances associated with the number of units within the main residential building.
Okay, then, thank you for that, Agent. I share the concern of my colleagues on that the purpose of the application then needs to be better defined by removing the part that relates to converting the three-story to a fourplex, or the threeplex to a fourplex. We just want to be dealing with what we're dealing with here by way of variances, which is a two-story laneway suite to be constructed in the rear yard. Can we make those changes to the purpose?
Yes, so we'll remove the first part and just say to construct a two-story laneway suite in the rear yard.
Okay, so panel members, we're going to change the purpose to reflect what the variances deal with. And I think that's important. Okay, so I do need to go back to the speaker, or to the agent. And agent, you do have an opportunity to rebut what the three speakers had to say, and also what is said in the 17 letters. I've been reading through the 17 letters, and I think a lot of them were triggered by the purpose of the application, which was misstated. Many of the letters are concerned about the very rapid change of the main building into a threeplex and ultimately a fourplex. So I'll ask you to address that briefly, but mainly we want to deal with the laneway suite, which is the primary issue here that we are now dealing with. We have heard concerns about lighting on the site being such that it's disturbing to neighbors, 24-hour lighting or all-night lighting, and overlook. And also there's a concern about the 6-meter height of the proposed laneway suite. So I'll ask briefly for your comments on those issues, please.
Right, sir. With respect to the lights, these are going to be covered and pointed downwards. The owner has given me that undertaking, and I give that undertaking on the record as well. These lights, I believe, are the ones that are on the rear staircase. And the rear staircase was required by the building department as opposed to platforms. It is in a residential zone where platforms are permitted as of right. There is no size limitation on platforms. There's no size limitations on staircases. So however, what I can tell you is that the staircase is not a platform. So it does not allow for conventional platform activities like putting up a barbecue or a chair or tables or congregate areas. It's an area of egress. So in that light, the staircase, and this is all with the triplex, does not provide for overlook. If anything, it would be indirect because someone is coming and going as an egress point of view.
Sir, we can't hear you.
In terms of, sorry? In terms of the laneway suite itself, it has fenestration on the front and the back. So the windows point towards the rear yard of the subject property and the laneway itself. So there's eyes on the laneway. There is no direct windows onto any neighboring property.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
There is no overlook in that regard. And once again, the height is to allow for that first floor to have a parking space and some living area, and then the second floor is sloped, so then it's got that dormer condition pointing towards the interior of the building itself, of the property itself. So I would submit, sir, that what is being proposed here is an actual appropriate design here, which does not have adverse impact on neighboring properties. And again, the two immediate neighbors are in support and have signed a letter of support for the application. I will just reiterate again that I would recommend the condition of permeable paving for the rear driveway and the walkway on the subject property. So subject to any questions, sir?
Thank you very much. At this stage, I think we'll take the application into committee. Panel members, I'm going to start off just by saying that the misstatement of the purpose, it now becomes apparent, triggered a great deal of the comment that we got from neighbors. The comment was mostly about what had happened to the main building and less so about the proposed laneway suite. I think that comment was valuable to us in giving us a sense of the site because we see that the site has experienced pretty quick development and intense development. So my thought on it would be that with respect now to the laneway suite, minor variances sought that we are being asked to look at, that we look at the site as a whole. And my view is that, of course, they're entitled to build a laneway suite, that's fine, but that these minor variances are in total substantial ones and probably represent an over-intense development of the site. So my thought would be on this to refuse the actual application as it now stands as a laneway suite application for minor variances to the laneway suite.
Well, and I'm going to continue my track record as being contrarian here. I actually am a big supporter of laneway suites, and I acknowledge the issue about the separation between the main building and the laneway suite, that it's more to the stairs rather than the actual building. Soft landscaping, I think we can deal with if we, as the agent has indicated, provide for permeable pavers throughout, so that should increase the ratio a little bit. The height, yeah, it may be a little bit excessive, but I do get the point about allowing for parking in the main floor, and I know we have approved 6-meter heights in other jurisdictions as well in other neighborhoods. So I'm inclined to support this application.
I'll just say this, I'm not opposed to them having a laneway suite because I know they're entitled to build one as of right. My comments were simply to the effect that these minor variances represent, in my mind, over-intensification, whereas a laneway suite built to the bylaw would be perfectly permissible. Next speaker. Mr. Salomon, Mr. Nitful? Mr. Salomon?
Yeah, I think all we're dealing with before us is the two-story laneway suite. And I think the variances before us are minor in nature. I would support the application with conditions of community planning and also to add in the conditions for permeable pavers. And where exactly is that, Larry? Where would that be?
You're muted.
You're muted, Larry.
I'm so sorry. It's late, guys. Maybe we could, Chair, ask the agent to, because I think he proffered that as an option. Maybe he could provide some clarity exactly where those pavers would go.
I wonder while he's doing that, if he might also make another suggestion. I'm persuaded as well by the rather impassioned plea to us about lighting. I can appreciate that that is a terrible intrusion into the neighborhood, and I would like to see a condition that basically provides that the lighting is fine, but that it can't extend onto adjacent properties. I'm wondering if the applicant has wording that he would suggest in that regard.
Okay, then, so I've heard from everyone. I think we can go back to the applicant now for two items. Some proposed ideas on permeable pavers and lighting limitation. Applicant, are you still with us?
I am, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. The permeable pavers are recommended for the driveway. So that is the 2.75 meter wide driveway that's in between the laneway and the lane, as well as the walkway that's in between the laneway house and the triplex. See the engineering and construction services requires a walkway from the laneway to the street. And that is the walkway that goes all the way along the side of the building. So we can make that entire walkway permeable paving.
And what is the treatment in between the house and the laneway suite? What is that now?
That is the soft landscaping. So
that is, yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, we're not looking to hard surface that at all. That's soft landscaping.
Yep.
And in terms of the other suggestion, the condition could read that any exterior lighting be directed downwards and not spill onto adjacent properties.
Fine.
Sounds good. So maybe just to kickstart this, I'll make a motion to approve this application, subject to planning staff conditions about being built to plans, as well as the addition of permeable pavers along the lines as the applicant has suggested, and wording to the effect that the applicant suggested with respect to lighting being positioned downwards and not to spill onto adjacent properties.
Motion to approve, seconded by
just as a clarification, can we, about the lighting, we want the lighting to relate not just to the lighting from the second, the laneway suite, but we want the lighting from the existing building as well as the new laneway suite building to...
We can see just lighting on site. All the exterior lighting on site.
Yeah, the problem is with the lighting on the existing house, right?
Yes.
So what I've proposed, any outdoor lighting shall not extend or project onto neighboring properties and shall be positioned downward.
Yeah, that's excellent.
That's okay. And then
sounds good.
For the driveway shall be constructed with permeable pavers as well as the walkway leading from the laneway suite to the street. Is that what you were looking at? Okay.
Yeah, I think that sounds great, Barb. Thank you.
Very good.
I'm happy
Is there
to
a second
second that.
motion? Second, Mr. Nipfel? So motion, seconded by Mr. Nipfel, to approve the application. All those in favor, show of hands, please. Those opposed? The motion is carried and the application is approved. And with that, the day's agenda is complete and the time is 10:45
I'm really sorry.
p.m.
So I think you should amend it, Chair. You should say the day and the night agenda have been totally concluded.
Surely. So the